On today's show, Artemis Fowl gets a teaser trailer. SpiderVerse is going to get more movies. And who can come back from the 90s? The Candyman can.
Who mixes it with love and makes the world taste
I just really need you to say that last line. Collider Movie Talk starts right now. We got to work on our barbershop trifecta, as it turns out. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Movie Talk. I'm Mark Ellis. Way over there is Jeff Sneider of the Yukon. This is John Rocha of Alaska. The boys are really cold here today. I'm usually very sensitive to cold. I run hot, I guess.
Do you really?
You guys seem very bundled up today.
Yeah, well, look, you've been hanging out in the sunny L.A., playing basketball, telling jokes on the sidewalks for money. We've been slaving away in this cold, concrete environment, and, it's very cold today through the skylight window.
I was going to bring a scarf today, but I didn't want to look even more like a pretentious NYU film student.
I was going to say, you look like you can pull up a scarf very, very accurately. Well, I don't know what these gentlemen have been doing all day, but I know that the gang over at Collider.com has been working hard. They just updated their website with this story about Candyman. That's right, we're kicking off with Candyman. According to reports, Jordan Peele is going to be back in the producerial chair, helping to helm a new Candyman movie. That's right, remember Candyman, starring Tony Todd? And there were three of them from 1992 to 1999. Bees were a big factor in that. And now we're getting a new Candyman film. Not really sure if it's going to be a direct sequel or it's going to be a spiritual successor to the original trilogy. But you hear Candyman, it's very exciting because they already have a director on board. Nia DaCosta, her feature film Little Woods did very well at Tribeca. I think it won awards at Tribeca. She's going to be directing it. Like we said, Jordan Peele and his producing partner Wynn Rosenfield are going to helm this thing from the producer's chair. When you look at this, Jordan Peele had a quote saying that alongside the original Night of the Living Dead, Candyman was an integral part of him growing up and getting ingratiated into horror in large part because Tony Todd is an African-American who is the central role in those films. And now, we don't know if Tony Todd's going to be back yet, but you imagine Tony Todd would come back at some point. Let's look at the landscape of horror reboots that we've seen recently. I'm not looking at you, Nightmare on Elm Street with Jackie Earle Hay. I'm looking more recent, like this year. I'm looking at Halloween, crushed it. They did a reboot right. I'm even looking at the news that LeBron James may be producing a new Friday the 13th movie. Jeff Sneider, does it seem to you that all of a sudden we have these properties that you can look back at the original movies and say, they don't really hold up, but they have good lore, they have good mythology, and you think Candyman is going to be one of those that hits at the box office?
I do. I think Candyman has great mythology. I love this horror movie growing up because my dad is the Candyman. He would walk around on the back of all of his clothes.
Sorry, say that again?
My dad was in the candy business.
Oh, okay. I had no idea what you were saying.
Yeah,
I thought your dad was heavily influenced by the movie.
No. We our home was meticulously furnished, but then there was like this huge Candyman poster in the middle of all this nice stuff.
Your dad was a Candyman? Like did he have a candy shop?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Did you know this?
No, I didn't. Because
this is fascinating.
We're sidetracked.
Perry has the candy stuff, and you have the candy stuff in your background.
Carrie Snyder's the Candyman. Anyways, the point is, I grew up loving this movie. It's an artistic horror movie. Like, Philip Glass score is fantastic. The cinematography is great. Virginia Madsen is an above-average, actress for a horror movie like this. And there's great backstory with Candyman being a slave and the whole history of the Cabrini Green housing project. So I kind of love what I'm seeing out of this announcement here on Collider, where the new one's going to take place in the same neighborhood where Cabrini Green was. That's now gentrified.
Yeah, so if you take everything into stock here, Rocha, you look at Candyman, did it have the effect on you as somebody whose father was not in the candy business?
My dad was not in the candy business, and if this is not a biopic of Michael Olowokandi, then I'm really frustrated on so many levels.
Deep cut.
Candyman.
For you sports fans, being all basketball fans that we are, I had to make that reference. But I know a lot of people love, this is one of those ones that kind of slid out from the 90s that people kind of gravitated to and enjoyed on a guilty pleasure level, but then also because of the interesting history of this horror film with this character, slavery and what have you. So now you have someone like Jordan Peele just showed us with producing BlacKkKlansman what he can do in the producer's chair. kind of revitalizing to a degree Spike Lee as a film director, and have him re-teaming up with his producing partner here, and then having Anita Costa coming in. She working with Tessa Thompson on Little Woods, great reputation. So this makes sense. Get a black film director, a black female film director, tackle a horror subject. This is going to have probably a darker bent to it. I'm sure there'll be more of the slavery angle that's explored even further from an African American perspective, what that's like. So there's a lot of this that excites me overall, and Jordan won me over obviously with what he did with Get Out, which was a story, which was a great horror that also told a racial story, but also told a deeper story going on, and still was supremely entertaining without being overwhelming or too political. So he's able to walk that line so eloquently. Did the same thing Black Klansman again as a producer. So I look forward to what he can do with this Candyman sequel.
What do they do with casting on this, Mark? Do they bring back Tony Todd? Because it doesn't sound like they are.
Well, you have to bring back Tony Todd in some form.
Well, you can. I mean, because again, this is not a. It's being told is not a direct sequel to any of the Candyman movies, so it may be
sequel,
picking up where some of the mythology left off, but not necessarily following the plot lines of the movie. So you could have multiple Candy Men, you could have Candy People, you could have Tony Todd narrating this story.
Hey,
so this is, you of all people should take the Candy People reference seriously. You being in the candy business.
Who was a candy person?
I grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. They had With Candy Shop. I don't know if it was the first candy shop in the United States, but oh man, really good stuff there. Anyway.
Go on.
No, I think that Tony Todd should factor into this somehow. I think you're at least going to hear his iconic voice, if nothing else.
I think they have to recast. I mean, you have to, again, distinguish yourself from what came before you. If it was just Candyman, that'd be one thing. But there's a whole franchise, a whole direct-to-video franchise that I think you need a clean slate here.
Right.
I could see you casting like Tony Todd as the Candyman's or Candywoman's grandfather or something in like a flashback.
Hence Candy People. There's multiple Candy personnel.
Is Keegan-Michael Key in play here?
No, he's
tall,
too
skinny.
Not,
I mean, I know the pairing, but no. I don't think he's. I think he can play a serious role like this. But I think that we think of that initially because of Key and Peele. Right. I wouldn't cast it outright, but I also wouldn't cast outright the notion of having Tony Todd come back to reprise this. But you want to take this in a different direction. So maybe that direction is the way they're looking at this, where it's not just one centralized villain or story that we're looking at, where it's a group that you have to maneuver around.
This is a bathroom thing. This is where you're in the bathroom mirror and you're saying his name 5 times, and somebody, doesn't necessarily have to be the same person each time, pops up behind you. I wonder if the bees will still be part of it. Like, are the bees integral to Candyman?
I think the bees are
without them.
The bees are as iconic as Tony Todd.
As you said before, with Halloween, LeBron's developing Friday the 13th. MGM itself is bringing back Child's Play.
Yeah.
So we're getting we're resurrecting all like the sort of 80s slashers and whatnot. It's only a matter of time before Freddy comes back too. And let's not forget Pet Sematary at Paramount.
That's right. Yeah, Pet Sematary. It's one of those ones that I thought Pet Sematary, okay, it's ripe for a remake. With Child's Play, I just you got to show me some material before I get excited about this. But this Candyman news, I'm on board right away. You give me Jordan Peele, you give me Nia DaCosta. I'm thinking this is going to be a slam dunk. I'd like to hear Tony Todd's name. I don't have to, but I'm excited to see what we have. Well, this is not the only sequel/spinoff news that we have to report today. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The movie comes out December 14th in wide release. It's already getting some pretty good reviews, including from the guy talking right now. And we already have a sequel greenlit, and that's not all. We also have a spinoff greenlit. So the spinoff would feature the female-centric superheroes in the universe of Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, amongst others. And then you're also going to have a direct sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's going to be directed by Joaquin Dos Santos. He's going to do the direct sequel. He also did Avatar: The Last Airbender. Don't worry, the animated one, not the M. Night Shyamalan movie. And then Lauren Montgomery, who's also done Batman Year One, is going to be helming the female-centric Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse spin-off story. This is great news as somebody who has seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because I think it's a fantastic, it just felt free and loose and wild and fun, because you don't have all these rules. I never felt the handcuffs of the MCU more so than I did watching this movie, because this film does whatever the hell it wants with the lore, with the mythology of Spider-Man, and I love that. So I am definitely signing up to see more films in this universe. This film that we're talking about, one of my favorites of the year, so I'm looking forward to the direct sequel. I'm looking forward to spin-offs. I want want more when it comes to the Spider-Verse. John Rocha, how does this news hit you?
Oh man, it gets me so excited. Going tonight to see the screening myself. I'm not at that level of Mark Ellis that I get even earlier screenings of films. So I'm excited to be going
Dorian's
tonight.
seen Aquaman already.
Yeah, well, Dorian, he's the screenings whisperer.
And Mary Poppins.
And Mary Poppins. But look, this is something that I'm excited about. I love that it got greenlit. It tells you the confidence they have in the movie. I don't know what it's tracking at, but it must be tracking at a good number for an animated superhero film. Those are not since like what Mask of the Phantasm has there really been this much hoopla for an animated superhero film. So this gives me a lot of hope for what I'm going to see tonight. And I love the idea that they're already ready to spin it off with Spider-Gwen, who I really liked as one of the newer characters in the comic books universe. I've enjoyed her coming on to the scene and love seeing people dressed up as her cosplaying at the numerous Comic-Con. So to me, this tells you there's excitement around this idea. So now, what is this going to lead to, right? Because they're not necessarily tied. Once again, like I said, it's free-flowing, so it's not necessarily tied to a universe. These can be individual stories told in this way, and I think they've picked two really good people to direct these films. If she closes her deal there, if Montgomery closes her deal there, these are two good people they've chosen to take this to the next step. So I'm excited about it, absolutely.
Yeah, and also the sense of humor factored heavily with my enjoyment of Spider-Verse. The fact that it could wink and nod with the audience, still tell a meaningful, deep, dramatic story. Jeff Sneider, is it going to be the trend going forward? I mean, we've seen this sometimes with movies having a great opening weekend and then getting the green light, hey, we're making a sequel. This is, I mean, we're still 2 weeks out, and we're already getting sequels and spin-offs. Is this too much, too fast, too soon for you?
No, if only because Sony proved us wrong before already. I think we all sort of had the knives out for Venom, and people were even if they were like, oh, even if they liked it, they were like, I don't know how well this is going to perform. 822 million worldwide. That is a huge figure. No one, even me in this office, was talking about a figure that high. So I think that they're bullish on the prospects of the Spider-Man universe outside of actual Spider-Man movies. I don't think that they necessarily need Peter Parker. This movie, THR reported that it was tracking between 28 and 35 million, with Sony coming in at around 30 million. That is not like another like huge animated movies that we see, whether it's Minions or Despicable Me, where those movies open to 70 million or more, or something like that. And I'm a little surprised this figure isn't higher, but it is a decent figure, and I think that the animation style, it seems more intricate, but I understand it to be a little bit cheaper than some of like the Pixar things like that. So I think it's going to do really well for them. I think it's smart to get to start development early on both a sequel and a spinoff.
Yeah, as far as quality goes, you maybe as far as budget, you can tell this animation is not to the level of Pixar. It didn't bother me at all. I actually found this animation very easy on the eyes. So if it's cheaper to make, we get more of these movies, I'm all for it, Rocha.
Yeah, well, and you look at this, and Jeff makes an interesting point about where it's tracking, but superhero animated films are such a niche. For me, the fact that it's tracking at 28 to 35 is a positive. These other animated films, those are specifically for children or a certain, or the child inside of all of us. They have that Disney brand on it. It's something new stories to tell. It's different. This kind of thing is distinctly superhero, and it's ironic because in the animated side of things, very much a limited audience when it comes to animation. But on the live action side of things, obviously way bigger audiences for superhero films that are live action. So to me, this bodes well. I mean, most of these are like 10, 12 million if they're ever released in the theaters tops.
Do you think that this will start a trend though? Like, the way that we've seen Batman Year One and all these other DC movies mostly go, straight to VOD platforms, that kind of thing. Are they going to start saying, wait, there's a lot of money to be made in theatrical? Are we going to start seeing Marvel animated movies, that kind of thing?
Well, I think yes, I absolutely. And the reason I say this is people keep talking about superhero fatigue. Here's another avenue that they're opening. Look at this superhero fatigue that does not exist. People want this material. They want to enjoy this material. They want to go back to being kids, reading these comic books again and enjoying these things. So yes, here's another venue where they can do that in animated wise. I still contend that The Dark Knight Returns animated adaptation should have been released in the theater. It is an incredible cinematic, fantastically cinematic piece of animation that should have been seen on the big screen. And it's a crime that it only went straight to DVD. So I hope this opens the doors even more for more of these high quality type of animated approaches.
I think Spider-Man has a great great date. There's no other animated movies coming out over Christmas. There's plenty of family fare, obviously, with Mary Poppins and Bumblebee and Aquaman. But I think that, without another big animated movie in the marketplace, Spider-Man's going to have some legs all the way into January.
Yeah, I'd actually love to see SpiderVerse just say, you know what, screw it, we're opening December 7th, because there's nothing that weekend either. So you could rule the box office for 2 weeks once Aquaman and Bumblebee get into play, plus Mary Poppins Returns opening Wednesday, December 19th. I think that's going to take a lot of the comic book lore slice as far as Aquaman is. People are going to be intrigued about that too. Let me postulate this, though. Is the biggest threat to movies like Into the Spider-Verse performing well at the box office in movie theaters possibly themselves? Because you mentioned the MCU being able to do animated movies like this. I think studios might say, hey, this is a perfect property and product to place directly onto our new streaming service. So maybe that's why you're not going to see it in theaters.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. And also, you look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man transcends all. Spider-Man is like Batman. He transcends all. You can do multiple medias with Spider-Man and be successful at it. You might not necessarily be able to do that with Iron Man or Doctor Strange or these other characters in the MCU because you've already seen them live action in a way that just kind of makes you think of them first in this way. Spider-Man, even going back to the 60s and 70s, there was Spider-Man animated cartoon. So it's always had a foot in animation for multiple decades. So that's a unique situation. Now you start opening the door to streaming services. This is where you can have higher quality animation appearing on these services. We're already seeing films like Roma, July 22, that come out, like all these films that are higher end cinematic films showing up on Netflix. So nothing's the new Coen brothers. So now streaming services, just because it's on a streaming service, doesn't mean it's not high quality animation.
For me, the most important, interesting and important thing about this announcement was the female-centric spin-off, because that's where you're seeing DC and Marvel both go. I mean, Marvel's doing Black Widow. It has a few female-centric properties in the works, obviously with Captain Marvel coming out soon. DC's doing the same thing, focusing on Wonder Woman, focusing on Harley Quinn, and doing the Birds of Prey movie, that kind of stuff. So I think that Sony, is essentially following that trend, getting on that bandwagon, and it's a smart move.
It's a great move. I mean, you walk into a comic book shop these days, you see so many different properties in the world of Spider, and to see a universe that can take all of those, combine them, have a laugh at the fact that they're combining them, and not have to adhere to the normal rules of a cinematic universe, I think it's welcome. Now, I love the MCU. I even appreciate the DCU. I'm the guy that likes Justice League, but when you see something that is so freewheeling and can wink and nod at all the other things that have come before it that might come after it, during it, it's a whole lot of fun to get invested in. So I highly recommend Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And they have Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy too. I mean, right?
As Spider-Gwen,
as Spider-Gwen, exactly. That's who they're talking about making the spinoff, building it around.
Yeah, a lot of good vocal time in that movie. So again, once December 14th rolls around, that's what you want to spend your theater dollar on, in my humble opinion. Well, do you want to spend your dollars on Artemis Fowl? Just got a trailer, Kenneth Branagh's film. It's based on Jon Colfer's story about a kid who's got to go in search of his missing father. He's a genius kid, gonna have a butler help him out, and gonna go look for his daddy. Sounds a lot like A Wrinkle in Time. And then there's also a world of fairies that he gets invested in, too. Actually, I thought this trailer was fine. I think I've softened my stance on movies that I may not care about from Disney that are live action because of the Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Like, I did not want to see that movie at all. Found myself enjoying it. I'm seeing Mary Poppins Returns tonight. Probably going to like it. Wow. So how can I possibly cast doubt on Artemis Fowl? I believe in Kenneth Branagh. I like the cast. Jeff Sneider. Am I crazy here?
Yeah, you are. This movie looks terrible. Okay, it looks atrocious.
Terrible.
Wow.
I mean, what are they selling here? They're selling world building. Selling another young male protagonist. The kid. Sorry, he looks bland. He looks boring. This looks like Boy in Black. He
looks like he's being Neo for Halloween.
I didn't like anything about it. Radiohead's my favorite band. Why are they selling this movie with Radiohead behind it?
Are you upset as a Radiohead fan?
I am.
Like you sold out?
I feel like we could have gotten a cooler movie trailer using Radiohead than this one. Nonzo Anozie. There's a lot of him in the trailer. Not enough of some of like the Josh Gad, Judi Dench, whoever else is in this thing. The bigger stars. I don't know. This is going to be like the Nutcracker all over again, where Disney's just kicking itself. I'd actually be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this debuted on the Disney streaming service.
Well, I would agree with you from that standpoint, because regardless of what I might have thought about the Nutcracker and the Four Realms, I know Disney's not thrilled with the performance of the movie, and that they're going to be reticent to sink that much money into another live action property that doesn't have a proven fan base. This is based on a YA novel. sold very well. A lot of people read it.
Yeah.
Rocha, is it
So
going
did the
to
Golden
translate?
Compass, Ellis. So did the Golden
Well,
Compass.
the Golden Compass was an issue of execution, not an issue of fandom, right? Look, Artemis Fowl I used to work and manage bookstores way back when, and Artemis Fowl was still a title we carried and people loved. So to me, this is exciting to hear that they're turning it into this movie. Here's the deal with the trailer. Here's the problem. Starts out, it sounds like Gollum. It's really close to Gollum.
Okay, it was very Gollum.
That's a bit confusing.
Tough for a narrator.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Eventually, the voice softens, and you get that it's something else going on there. But it does start out sounding like Gollum. Yes, in Brana I trust as well. Been a massive fan of him as a filmmaker. Really enjoyed what he did with the first Thor. So we know he can world build. That's not an issue. And looking from the trailer, it looks like that's what's going to happen here. However, that being said, those shots of that kid trying to strut away with the shades on really didn't do anything for me. And overall, but then again, I'm not what they want in the theater. It's the kids they want in the theater. It's a YA film. So does it appeal to those kids? I don't know. But I like the look of it.
It's like the look, with like in 2019, and then it has like this big ring, rotating around it. It's supposed to give you that Lord of the Rings feel or something. It just seems so ridiculous. Hong Chow, that's the Asian actress, right? That we get a glimpse of. I don't know what is going on there where he just makes her younger and then she floats. Like, what is happening?
Right. It's a teaser trailer.
The
You're
Butler
supposed to
with the
ask
bow
these
and
questions.
arrow. I just no.
Rocha sounds like a guy that still works at Walden Books or Borders that's trying to sell you on buying the novel.
These are like YA
You'll
books.
really enjoy it.
They're YA books from another generation, though. Okay, look at A Wrinkle in Time. Look at The Giver. Remember that? We had Meryl Streep in it. Like, these are books that maybe we grew up reading. I don't think kids grow up reading them anymore. I think like Sony's developing the Phantom Toll Booth. This is money down the drain. Kids don't care.
But it's about execution. A Wrinkle in Time was a terrible movie. That's about execution. If they made a good version of A Wrinkle in Time, people would go and see it. The stories are universal, which is why they're passed on from generation to generation. I don't know what the numbers are, so I can't try to combat Jeff's point with facts in this way, knowing what the sales for these books are. But people are still talking about these books, so I imagine, and it's not like criteria, it's not like syllabi get updated every year. People are stuck with what they can teach in most schools. So I would be surprised if they're not teaching most of these books still.
Wasn't sure where you're going with that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying in the educational system.
I thought I was following, and then my mind momentarily drifted what I was going to say next. Then we get back to what they're teaching kids in school, and I lost Rocha there for a minute. I usually ask him to leave a trail of breadcrumbs when he goes into the woods, but he didn't that time. You guys let us know in the comment section. You're going to go see Artemis Fowl when it opens August 9th, 2019. Well, we're going to move on to two more stories, but before we get to that, I want to remind you guys about our new show, For Your Consideration. Oscar season is heating up. As a matter of fact, we have a story that we're going to get to in just a second here about the National Board of Review and what their favorite movies and performances of the year are. Jeff Sneider, what is the latest on FYC? I know you're no stranger to those parts around the Collider Studio.
Yeah, this past week we did the best documentary predictions, and we had Morgan Neville, the director of the Mr. Rogers documentary, on. And he doesn't just he's not just there to promote his own movie. He actually gives us his thoughts on all the contenders, all the other movies that he's going to be competing against. So I think that's a really good episode. And with Scott Mance and Perry Nemiroff and I, the discussion is always spirited. The debate is always healthy. And yeah, check out our best picture predictions, which we released right before Thanksgiving.
And Rocha is on 32 shows total.
Yeah, but not that one.
We count them 32. Okay, just before we go forward, a little wizard behind the curtain as to how we do things here on the show, in particular with this table. If everybody could make a concerted effort to just not bang the table and not make it squeak, it sounds like a basketball court in here. It sounds like a dolphin is slowly being suffocated. It sounds like there's a team of mice that are attacking my eardrums. I don't know if our podcast listeners can hear it, but I'm looking out for you guys. So I'm going to call out not just the panelists, but also myself. Let's try not to hit the table.
I like it.
And let's try to have a nice, polite conversation, which is what we're having so far, just in a way that doesn't necessitate a dying porpoise. And we move on to the National Board of Review. Speaking of dying porpoises, I didn't have a transition for that one. National Board of Review is at it again. They usually release their best picture and their best actor, actresses, director before anybody else does. They're one of the first in the game to release what they thought about the movies that were in the year 2000, whatever. This year's 2018, and their movie of the year is Green Book. Green Book, the movie starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. Viggo Mortensen also taking the prize for Best Actor. What surprised me about this is, hey, you love Green Book. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did too. Best Supporting Actor goes to Sam Elliott. from A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question, because I do some research, not enough. Mahershala Ali, was he nominated for Best Lead, or was he nominated for Best Supporting Actor?
I mean, he's not. There's no nominations with the NBR, but he's going to be running supporting.
Then he should be over Sam Elliott, who shows up in like 2.5 scenes.
I mean, I agree.
In A Star Is Born. What the hell are you thinking? You're a national, you're a board, you review things. All three of those words make me think you should have given Best Supporting Actor to Mahershala Ali. Bradley Cooper got Best Director. He's also in A Star Is Born, but I love Sam Elliott to death. I think he's great. I think Bradley Cooper did a great impression of him in A Star Is Born. I don't know. Am I crazy, Rocha?
No, I think you make a great point. I'm not touching anything. You make a great point of what you're saying about Mahershala Ali. Mahershala Ali should have been named here in this situation.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's quizzical to say the least, but maybe they're just trying to spread the wealth. Give a little bit to Star Is Born here, give a little bit to Green Book. But to me, listen, as I see these things start to come out, and we start talking about end of the year, we're in November now, almost out of November. I don't know if this was a strong year for movies. And it's starting to really dawn on me that we do not have a runaway, strong, powerful Best Picture rolling through. Yes, some people were moved by A Star Is Born, and just as many people found it to be schmaltzy and missing minutes and not as good. People like Green Book, but now there's a pushback on Green Book coming down. Everything that you've liked has had a pushback against it. So maybe the National Board of Review, by the way, hasn't chosen a Best Picture that matched with the Oscars since 2008. So take it with a grain of salt that they chose Green Book. Make your own decision as you go see these films. But this is what I'm seeing now this year. I don't know if necessarily this was a very strong year for films. Feature films, studio films. Maybe the independent film seems fantastic, but
I think John Rocha is 100% right.
I was going to say, is that a hot take?
I think it is a good year for movies, but a bad year for the Oscars and for awards movies. Because when I go make my Best Picture predictions, there's only 4 or 5 movies I really think are deserving of a nomination. Like, we're talking about Can You Ever Forgive Me and First Man and Widows and The Favorite for Best Picture nominations. Like, no. Why? And it's because you need to fill out, 8 or 9 movies, and there just aren't that many. So that's why those movies are probably going to get in.
So it's more like the NFC East now than the NFC East back in the 80s. I mean, it was really competitive to get into the playoffs. Now it's just like whoever feels like it. I should note that Regina King was the Best Supporting Actress recipient from the National Board of Review for her work in If Beale Street Could Talk. I think that's deservedly so, as is Lady Gaga for the Best Lead from A Star Is Born. So clearly them favoring those two movies.
Wait, Gaga won?
Yeah. She was named Best Actress, yeah.
Best Actress.
And I thought she was fantastic.
Seems
even
like
though some people,
choice,
I still preferred Bradley Cooper in that film, but I thought she did a great job, even if some people think that she's kind of playing herself. Green Book, I love. I think that's the right call. I think it's the Best Picture frontrunner, even though there is a backlash, and there are plenty of stories coming out that are sort of targeting it. I don't know. I kind of like what NBR did here, I got to say. And what did you think of the top films list? Like,
I'm going to give you the top films right now. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Black Panther, Can You Ever Forgive Me, 8th Grade, First Reformed, If Beale Street Could Talk, Mary Poppins Returns, A Quiet Place, Roma, and A Star Is Born. Oof. So how many of those, Rocha, do you think would warrant Best Picture consideration in a great year for movies?
Let's run it down again. Say it again.
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah. No.
Black Panther.
Maybe.
Can You Ever Forgive Me?
No.
8th Grade?
No. Maybe.
First Reformed?
No.
If Beale Street Could Talk?
Yes.
Mary Poppins Returns?
No.
Quiet Place?
Yes, I like it.
Okay. Roma?
I like it. Yes,
Roma's
absolutely.
a big yes, and I think A Star Is Born, the last one's a big yes.
And Green Book as well.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I just think it's going to be a top-heavy award season. I think it's all going to be between Roma, Star Is Born, and Green Book. I just think those 3 are going to win all the awards. Maybe you see Regina King or someone from The Favorite get that supporting actress slot, but yeah, I don't see the Academy spreading the love this year.
But don't you think it's fascinating, because this is their reaction last year, and look, I'm folding my arms like I'm some kind of pontificator. But like last year, right? What was the big issue with the Academy Awards? Ratings. Too many small films being nominated. There's even more small films that are in contention now for Best Picture because of this situation. That's not, that you said, it's not necessarily, there's not a lot of good films coming out of the studio that you would necessarily put there in those 9, 8, 10 slots.
I wouldn't sweat the ratings at all this year. I think it's going to be actually a good year between A Star Is Born and Black Panther.
And don't forget about if A Quiet Place gets nominated, that movie did very well at the box office too.
But to be able to cut to Lady Gaga during your award show, I think we'll get a chunk of audience members that would not normally tune in. I don't think that there being a handful of small movies in the race, I don't think that will really affect things from a ratings perspective.
Do you think Infinity War should be in consideration? Because I do.
Oh my God, John! Please.
If you don't consider if Black Panther's on the fence, I put Infinity War just below Black Panther.
Okay.
I think Infinity War was a very tough achievement to get all those characters into one movie and make a coherent story, but I think Black Panther is just a better film than Infinity War. That might be a spicy take. I'm not sure how people feel about those two movies, but I was more on Black Panther than I was on Infinity War. I don't know that the Academy would be the same way. I just feel like the name Avengers Infinity War, it just doesn't seem like it leaps off the ballot as something that people who vote for the Oscars. Now, look, if you ask me, it might be in my top 10 favorite movies, but I can't imagine it's going to crack the Oscars.
We have to change. We have to go with the times. This idea of it says Infinity, that's got to stop.
We have to change and go with the times and nominate Avengers movies for Best Picture.
Yes.
John, are you crazy?
For the last decade, we have seen superhero movies consume our film medium. What are you talking about? How can they not be qualified to win awards, to be nominated for awards? That's ridiculous to me. This isn't like, I don't know, whatever genre that's popped up that disappeared. This is legitimate, and this is here to stay. We were just talking about SpiderVerse 2 sections ago about how it can now open the door for more superhero films to come out on screen or be considered for awards.
Could win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature.
Certainly possible, and there you go. So that's what I'm trying to get at. We have to stop sitting in this place of, it's not a classic film. Come on, grow up. This is a situation.
John, I'm not saying it because it's a comic book movie. I'm saying it because it's just a bad movie.
Oh, for God's sake.
Avengers Infinity War is a bad movie.
Are you out of your effing mind?
You probably like Deadpool 2.
No, not as much as that. No,
not as much.
It's
a terrible movie.
I wouldn't buy Deadpool 2, but I bought Infinity War here. Currently, on Black Friday, I bought it. And so I absolutely think Infinity War, and I think, Ellis, what you said is a great thing. The debate you can have between Black Panther and Infinity War is a good, fun debate to have about which film was better. But I think both of them absolutely deserve to be in consideration for Best Picture, no matter what Ethan Hawke says. No matter what he says about that First Reformed movie of his. You know what? More people saw that. And teaching
First Reformed is not a good movie either.
But both of these
falls apart in the second half. The end is terrible.
But both of these films have something to say about our society. Both Black Panther and Infinity War.
What is Infinity War saying about society? What?
Oh my God!
I think Black Panther has a straighter road to the Oscars than Avengers Infinity War. This is why I love hosting the show. Rocha's passionate. Jeff is snarky.
This is why Rocha and I are not allowed on the show usually. He is a last minute substitution.
I am.
This is.
But I'm throwing touchdowns.
Happy that either one of y'all step into the game. Rocha, you could be my Colt McCoy any day of the week. But we have one more story to get to, and I don't think it'll cause quite as much controversy as the National Board of Review got us started on, and that would be The Vanishing, or just Vanishing. It's Vanishing. It's not Kiefer Sutherland, Sandra Bullock, and it is starring Gerard, Butler, and the movie actually was really good. It's this based on a true story of these 3 fellas show up to monitor a lighthouse, and then there's a disappearance, a vanishing, if you will. There's a mysterious box that they find. It's wooden. They open it up. There's untold riches inside. People come looking for it. Whole lot of stuff. Look, to be fair, I'm a fan of Gerard Butler when he's in good movies. I didn't see Hunter Killer. Sometimes Gerard Butler doesn't make the best choices as an actor, given his talents. This doesn't look like Geostorm, Rocha. This actually looks like a film that should stay in theaters for a while.
Listen, I have a horrible love of Gerard Butler. It can't be denied. I've seen just about everything he's released in the theaters.
Should he get nominated for Best Actor for Hunter Killer?
Let's not get crazy. Including Geostorm. Den of Thieves is fantastic. I got that on Blu-ray. I really love that. That's a gritty.
He's good in it.
Wait a second.
Den of Thieves is a good, gritty, awesome fun.
Den of Thieves on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, that's a good, gritty film.
Wait. Was it a Black Friday purchase?
No.
It was like $7.99 Black Friday?
It was Heat Light, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like I said, I enjoyed Gerard Butler, but this, I saw Hunter Killer as well, and enjoyed the hell out of that. But for what it is, right? I'm not trying to put it in an Oscar nomination. It's just fun times. But this looks very interesting. I'm a massive fan of Peter Mullen as well. Such a good actor in the work he's done overseas. Every once in a while, his films come over to this country. You can catch him now more so. A lot of his UK work is really fantastic. And so to see him in a film like this, getting his name mentioned alongside Gerard Butler excites me. This looks like a good thriller, scary thriller, and Gerard Butler normally would play the Peter Mullen part. It's nice to see him playing the conflicted guy, wondering if he's going to take that money or not, and what it's going to cost, and whatever. So, if I'm judging the trailer, this looks interesting to me. I'm damn well going to go see this thing.
Jeff Sneider, I dare ask if the Squeaky Dolphin agrees with John Rocha.
I was the one who fought to get The Vanishing discussed here on Movie Talk. I put it in the Slack thread. I thought it looked really good. I don't think this movie was on anybody's radar before yesterday. I saw the trailer and was really impressed. I think this is the kind of movie that Jerry Butler needs to do. He needs to, because I mean, he's getting older. He can't just keep saving the world and kicking ass for the rest of his career. He's got to do interesting character-based dramas like this. I love movies like this where, like Shallow Grave, Danny Boyle's first film, which is a classic. If you guys haven't seen that, rent Shallow Grave. But like where you take, or A Simple Plan with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob, where you just take a bunch of money and let it tear apart three people. And yeah, this looks really interesting to me. I like anything with like lighthouse keepers and a remote island. That's awesome. Peter Mullen's he's such a badass. I need to finish watching Ozark season 2.
And this director Christopher Nylam, this is a guy who did the first season of The Killing, which
that's
everybody loved. He did multiple episodes of The Killing, and also Taboo, the Tom Hardy series that I thoroughly enjoyed. He directed 4 episodes of that. So this ability to do dark thriller with the kind of like where's it gonna go type vibe to it certainly is in this gentleman's wheelhouse. So I look forward to this film.
Is this a Saban Films pickup?
Yeah, it is Saban Films.
I tell you, I like their acquisitions executives. I think that they have good taste. They picked up a Shot Collar a year or two ago. Like they find some interesting diamonds in the rough. So I'm willing to see what they've got in store for us here. Although that title is very unfortunate. You're right, Mark. You can't take a title of a classic movie like The Vanishing.
What classic movie?
The original The Vanishing.
Yeah, there was The Vanishing before.
You mean the 4-in-1?
Yeah, which is The Vanishing is the English title of it.
Right. But it's the original Vanishing, which is a foreign
classic,
not that damn Jeff Bridges bullshit.
Yeah,
the original.
That's a guilty pleasure.
Right.
But the original is a classic, and you can't take the title.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can read subtitles. It's fantastic though.
All right. Good, passionate debate here. We're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions, and I'll be honest with you, I already picked out the one I'm going to ask, and I'm going to call it today. But tomorrow, I will check. I will go back and I'll check today for Wednesday and Thursday because I love y'all so much and your continued support of this program. Before we go any further, I do want to remind you all of some upcoming tour dates. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. There's movie trivia Schmoedown that's happening in Brooklyn. The night before, I'm going to be in New York City at New York Comedy Club telling some jokes. You can get tickets right now at markellislive.com. Matter of fact, had lunch with 1 or 2 people that may be guesting on that very show in New York City. Get your tickets now before they sell out. Also have upcoming dates in Phoenix, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, all right there, markellislive.com. Thanks to everybody for coming to see me tell yucks. John Rocha?
This is awkward. We didn't have lunch today.
Collider here.
Okay.
So I was going to set you up.
Not
You're not going to be on every show that I do, but maybe you'll be on this one. I don't know.
If I win.
I'll tell you what, if you start walking right now, you're going to hit New York.
New York City.
You might be in New York anyway.
Yeah, if I win.
That's a big if.
Yeah, that's a big if.
Collider Heroes.
Yes.
What do we got tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we have got some great stuff coming up for Collider Heroes. Coy and Amy are going to see Into the SpiderVerse, and I got them in, so they're going to see it tonight. They're going to give a little bit of a mini review on the show about it, and we have Christopher from Titmouse coming in as well to talk about his experiences and talking about his work with John Schnepp. Yep. So there's a lot to talk, there's a lot to enjoy, and of course, multiple stories on Minor Mutations that those two are going to talk about, and Christopher as well. So come and join Collider Heroes tomorrow.
And you have an all-new episode of Collider Live tomorrow, 10 a.m. to noon. And then obviously Collider Movie Talk right here, normal time on the West Coast, 4 p.m. Set your calendars and your Apple Watches. Okay, one Twitter question, and then we're out of here. Chris El Guapo gets the honor today, and he's asking, in honor of our discussion about the Oscars, National Board of Review for Best Movie, what is the worst Best Picture winner at the Oscars, according to the fine folks here on the panel. All-time worst movie to win Best Picture.
Oh, no. You go first.
Wow. This is two golfers giving each other the honor.
Speaking of which, I saw that Phil and Tiger thing. That was boring as hell.
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I'm
The
heartbroken
24/7?
Tiger lost, but...
the 24/7 was boring.
the 24/7, I enjoyed it.
Stop it.
I don't know what I'm going to put here.
You don't put Crash?
No, I love Crash. I'm Crash's number
He's leaving
one
the studio.
fan on the internet.
How can that be possible?
Yeah.
No wonder you like Green Book.
I don't know. People say the artists. I guess the
I
artists.
see a lot of
I don't
people
know.
online saying Chicago, they thought.
No.
It was a little overrated.
Oh, stop it.
I'm seeing some people say Dances with Wolves. Crash is way up there.
Yep. They're wrong.
How Green Was My Valley.
Oh,
Because that movie beat out Citizen Kane, I believe.
yes.
Yeah. And then Shakespeare in Love is another one beating out Saving Private Ryan.
I'll fight you on that.
But that's they're comparing it to the movie that it beat, right? So
Right.
I shouldn't have beaten Saving Private Ryan, but is it the worst Best Picture winner? No.
Did The English Patient win Best Picture?
Yes.
I've never seen it. I just haven't heard good things. But I'm not going to judge English Patient. First movies I've actually seen that I didn't think warranted Best Picture. I like Shakespeare in Love. I thought Crash was fine. Chicago, never seen.
Yeah.
The Artist.
Around the World in 80 Days, that's probably the worst one if you want to go way back.
Yeah.
That's a terrible.
That's generally regarded as, I think, the worst one.
Yeah, that's a terrible, terrible movie. Shouldn't have won. A lot of people bash Titanic. That's for technical
crazy.
achievement alone. That film deserves the Best Picture Oscar that year. And don't come at me with that Shakespeare in Love stuff. Shakespeare in Love is a fantastic film. It's independent movement, Miramax. That time, maybe Paltrow's best performance. Joseph Fiennes, who only now just coming back with 'Handmaid's Tale, gave one of the best performances of Shakespeare ever. Saving Private Ryan past that 30 minutes.
Do we like The King's Speech?
I like The King's Speech.
Love The King's Speech.
What about Moonlight? Because I didn't love Moonlight.
Wow.
Yeah,
No,
you heard me.
I like Moonlight a lot. I think Moonlight deserved it over a lot. I would have been fine with either one winning, and as it turns out, they kind of did. So I would say Moonlight deserved that tiebreaker. But can you what's your biggest highway robbery situation in terms of the Oscars? Because really, that's where the conversation goes. Is Shakespeare in Love may be a fine movie, but do you think that it robbed Saving Private Ryan? I think it did. Although I like Shakespeare in Love, a lot of people saying that the LA Confidential should have beat Titanic. Dances with Wolves beating Goodfellas.
I think that's the one that I come back to all the time because I don't think Dances with Wolves holds up as powerfully as Goodfellas does. People still quote Goodfellas as influenced them to get into film or discover film or become filmmakers. No one's saying that about Dances with Wolves, and that matters. I'm sorry, that matters. And so to me, that is the biggest one of them all. And then Raging Bull. Who did Raging Bull lose to?
And I think
forget.
it was Ordinary People?
Ordinary
Yeah.
People. No
Yeah.
one's quoting Ordinary People's influence in the get into film. It's Raging Bull, right? Scorsese, black and white, 1980 boxing film, maybe considered the greatest sports film ever made. That's a hell of a thing to hang your hat on.
I'm really going back to Moonlight. I think Manchester by the Sea was a staggering masterpiece that came out that year.
Emotional, for sure. Both those
I
movies,
like
though,
that
really.
movie.
So Around the World in 80 Days,
Yeah.
the Best Picture winner. Do you know what movie it beat?
No.
The Ten Commandments.
Ooh.
Charlton Heston, Let My People Go, Part of the Red Sea.
And Giant.
Could not compete.
Did it be Giant?
With the hot air balloon.
Yeah.
Well, I like The King's Speech winning, and I think it should have won over The Social Network. On a show of hot takes. I don't know if that's the hottest one.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
The King's Speech, just the way that it portrays the way that you approach public speaking and how frightening it can be for people when they show that opening scene of him getting in front of the microphone, that huge microphone back in the day, and that audience just waiting, just dying, pleading to be inspired. Powerful stuff. King's Speech, I'm on board with you. Jeff Sneider, John Rocha, any closing remarks?
Gandhi beat E.T. and The Verdict and Tootsie.
That's fine with me. Gandhi's a fantastic film and still holds up, and you should go back and watch it if you haven't. Tootsie's fine. Tootsie's fun. It's a great film.
E.T. Was he a botanist or was he a botanist / spy?
All right. Any other questions?
That's going to do it for us here on Collider Movie Talk. We got a call today. I want to thank Jeff Sneider, John Rocha. I am Mark Ellis. As we already throw it to the wide, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Hopefully these gentlemen can patch things up. Infinity War. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.